Elon launches the America Party. The Epstein files finally released, but move along, there's nothing to see. Protests erupted in Mexico City over American immigrants ruining Mexico. I kid you not. BBC employees sign a letter saying they were forced to do propaganda for Israel. Massive flooding in Texas leaves more than 100 dead. 96% of AIs threaten to do something terrifying if you unplug them. You're not going to want to miss this one. And Philadelphia has been turned into a PvP server.
The big, beautiful bill passed over the weekend. Trump signed it on July 4th. And as Elon promised, the American Party was started the next day.
All right. So when the big, beautiful bill was signed, I realized, and I'm not kidding at all, America is going to go bankrupt. That was like a breaking point for me where I was like, whoa, like this is actually going to happen. I will continue to write deep dives and talk about this topic endlessly, but at some point I realize I'm only speaking to individuals who can protect themselves. I mean, obviously I hope that enough people do something that makes sense for themselves, that it ends up having a ripple in terms of how people think about government spending, how they think about fiscal responsibility, how they think about money printing, how they think about debt. But I no longer think that there is a party to elect that won't print money. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think you're way more optimistic about the America Party than I am. I think that it is inevitably going to be a spoiler party that will, right now, it will be most closely aligned with the Republican Party. So it'll put the kibosh on them. But I think ultimately on a long enough run, if you have a third party that is as well funded as Elon Musk could make it, you are, whatever party is closest to the America Party will be the one that gets their vote split.
I think a lot of people at this point are politically homeless. And I think that there are a lot of non-MAGA, fiscally conservative Republicans. And I think on the left side, there's a lot of I don't want socialists, communists in America, Democrats. And I think over the years, those people have had to kind of bite the bullet, lesser of two evils, voted for candidates they weren't really excited about. So in my take, I think that 10, 15, 20% of Democratic parties loses and goes into the America Party. I think 10 to 20% of the Republicans kind of go. And instead of it being a 48-49 that we've seen for the last few elections, it becomes more a race to 37, a race to 40 type thing. And it kind of spreads that. So I'm more optimistic that this third party would actually help the politically homeless who want to have a no nonsense. If you can do whatever you want to do, I just don't want to federally pay for it. I want to have a balanced budget. I want to make sure that the money that we do spend in government is going toward education programs and certain things like that versus senators and House representatives that's been there for 40 years. So I think there is a silver lining in all of this. I don't know if Elon's the guy to do it, but I voted third party last election. I am team third party. I think that's the one missing component in politics that we actually need in America.
All right. I'm going to plant my flag strong so I can see over time if I end up being correct. You know me, I'm not afraid to be wrong, but I really feel strongly right now that it's going to play out exactly as history dictates that it will play out. You're in a populist moment. We are at the extremes, not because there's no other party, but because people are mad. They are emotional. Until they are not mad, until there is a thriving middle class, until they do not have a vision of their country is this terrible, horrible place, until they, and whether they think it's terrible, horrible because communists and socialists are trying to run away with it, or they think it's terrible and horrible because it's a right-wing insane asylum. Like there are so many people right now, or because we're on stolen land, like all of the reasons why people may think that this is a terrible place. Until people think my kids' lives are going to be better than mine, that I'm going to be able to pay off my debt, I'm going to be able to buy a house, until they believe that, they're going to be in their feels. And as long as they're in an emotional state, history says that they will vote for a strong man who will slap the other side around. That's what people want right now. That's what they're going to vote for. And the first people to die in a revolution are the moderates in the middle. And part of the reason is that they're getting attacked from both sides. And part of the reason is they're just not that big of a constituency. So I think that there's like, what do they consider in terms of, I know that the split on the vote in the last election was like less than 2% between people that voted for Kamala Harris versus people that voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, based on the popular vote.
And then I think swing voters are like 7%. So it is a small number. So even if 100% of the swing voters go for the America Party, it's still not even remotely close enough to do anything other than you have to get the party to go, okay, listen, Dear America Party, we need you to bring all of your votes to us. And so you will see that. You'll see a battle for that middle party to get them to endorse somebody. So it will become that. But I don't think it's ever going to become a thing where it gets 35, 40% of the vote. And now, finally, all of us sane people that make up some huge number, we have a place to go. And like you, I am politically homeless. Like you, well, you actually did vote for RFK. I had a rule that if he wasn't going to be on all of them, I knew he was going to lose. And I didn't want to do a protest vote because I actually thought that maybe we could get some fiscal conservatism. We obviously did not get that, not by a long shot. And some part of me knew. Look, I was conflicted in the beginning. I thought maybe, just maybe, that with all of the Doge talk and all of that, we were actually going to get some meaningful cuts. The more I studied history, though, the more I studied the modern monetary theory and the way that the big debt cycle goes, the more I realized, I'm not sure if you could elect anybody at this point that would not print, because you have to fundamentally change the system. Now, maybe Elon sees it well enough to understand the Fed has to go. He certainly pays attention to Rand Paul. I think he's acknowledged Ron Paul in the past, I don't know if Rand Paul has said it, but Ron Paul certainly has said you just have to abolish the Fed. Yeah. So, in fact, he wrote a book literally with that title. So we'll see. But half the country absolutely despises Elon Musk. So he's probably not your guy anyway.
Yeah. So because of the populist moment that we're in right now, you think regardless, American Party, if Elon and Jon Stewart and all the celebrities and people that we use to offset our political leanings to, if they got together and somehow it came with a coalition of people, it's just not the right moment for this party, you think? Or is it just...
It's not the right moment for the party, for sure. And those people will never come together any more than Elon and Trump did. And they will end up shattering into a bunch of other little parties. And so there is a reason that these things like break apart. As much as I do not like the political outcomes that we're seeing right now, I don't know that having a bunch of parties is the answer. Now, again, this is not the thing that I've gone super deep on, but every week I go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And every week I'm like, my original intuition seems like it's going to play out. I know we have a clip from Ron DeSantis. Let's play the clip from Ron DeSantis and I'll give you more on that.
When you do another party, especially if you're running on some of the issues that he talks about, that would end up, if he funds Senate candidates and House candidates in competitive races, that would likely end up meaning the Democrats would win all the competitive Senate and House races. And so, look, I'm a Republican. I don't want to see that happen. I think if you want to, get involved and hold accountable, we do have a problem in the Republican Party with these DC congressmen. They always run saying there's out of control spending and they're going to spend less, and they never do it.
The reason that neither party is ever going to stop printing is, as we've talked about in the deep dive, the modern monetary theory, you actually, and that is the system we have, you actually must, as a matter of physics, print more money to pay the interest on your debt. So there is no way to not print more money. Now, if you're going to print more money, you have to have a reason to print money. And right now, the deficit is the reason. And because you're in a populist moment, all of the voters on every side are like, I want to get my piece of the pie. They have an emotional, intuitive sort of vibe about the American dream is dead. They're not going to be able to articulate why. They're just going to say everything's too expensive. And because they can't get into a house, because they're buried under debt, they just want somebody to come in and make sure that they get a piece of the pie, whatever the pie is. And like when you feel like you're fighting for your survival, it's like, give me my stuff. I don't care what happens to other people. Just get me mine. And so when you elect somebody whose job is to get you yours, then all of a sudden, it's like, I don't care that we're going to spend money. They don't understand that America actually will go broke. And I'm going to say within the next 10 years. So like, that feels now self-evident. Obviously, I hold out in the most deep recesses of my soul. I hold out hope that we will change course. But if we don't change course, America will go bankrupt. It's math. And you think that Trump's got, if he himself has 3.5 more years. So now you're, talking about 6.5 years left. If he passes the baton to anybody, as far as I can tell, Democrat, Republican, won't matter. I think your only chance is to get a Republican who is fiscally conservative, and that's not going to happen. I don't think there's anybody to pass the torch to. So now you're just like, the only thing that will get us to change course is pain and suffering.
Yeah. I like that DeSantis took a constitutional approach. Let's keep listening.
Honestly, if you're concerned about the debt, I wouldn't even worry about that, because I don't think just electing a few better people is going to change the trajectory. We need the incentives in Washington are going to lead to these outcomes, really, regardless of the outcome of elections at this point. So you need to do a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and you can do that through the states. You can do it through Article 5. We've got 28 states that have approved this. There's another 4 or 5 that are on the docket. Once you hit 34, then you write an amendment, and then the states are able to ratify that. You need 3/4. If Elon wanted to weigh in on that and work on those state legislatures, he would have a monumental impact on doing this. And we also need term limits for members of Congress. And so you can do both of those things.
So that is a different perspective, term limits and having a balanced budget amendment into the Constitution.
Yep.
I like that this is a constitutional approach, something that we don't talk about enough. We always want to legislate it, come up with a new policy, print more money, where the founding fathers kind of gave us these backdoor ways in the original document that we should be utilizing a little bit more.
Yeah, watching this clip, one, you can feel he's groping for, this is a structural problem. We need to solve this structurally. I doubt very much that he understands economics well enough to understand what the real root problem is, but at least his solution will start marching you down that road. Now, the problem is, because you still have modern monetary theory, even if you put in a fiscally balanced budget, mark my words, you would have some other crisis that would allow for more money printing, because again, if you don't money print, you can't pay the interest. So you have to money print, because there isn't enough money in the world. It's like, once you understand how this actually works, I mean that literally. If people have not watched my deep dive on this, every dollar in circulation is tied to nothing. It came into existence as an interest-bearing loan. That means that if there's, let's just say $1 trillion, you print $1 trillion. Okay, well, you owe $1 trillion and $50 billion in interest. But in this example, only $1 trillion exists. So where do you get the 50 billion? You have to print again. And that's exactly what we've been doing. That isn't it's not speculative fiction. That's actually what we've done. So every dollar that we've created since 1913, when we created the Federal Reserve Act, or we created the Federal Reserve with the Federal Reserve Act, we have been printing money into existence. It's not backed by anything like it used to be. It's just fiat. So every dollar that comes into existence, you owe some percentage on, in the neighborhood of 5%. And the only way to pay that is to print more money. It's absolutely absurd. It is the system. And I know right now, if people are encountering that idea for the first time, they're confused. They don't even understand what I'm saying, because they cannot comprehend that money comes into existence as an interest-bearing loan, that there is a company, a semi-private company owned by dudes and dudettes who literally are the only people that get to go, my product is made up. It's made up. Drew, imagine you're Nike. You don't have to make shoes. You just get to say the shoes exist, and you give people like a piece of paper that says you own a pair of shoes, but you don't actually own a pair of shoes. Like, this is insane. And because I don't have to go source the materials and get somebody to make it, my product just magically exists, and people have to pay me interest on it. Oh my God. Like, people cannot believe that that's true, that every word I just said is true.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, for every dollar, there's $1.05 owed back to it.
Correct.
Automatically. However, if we were balanced budget, fiscally responsible, we collect $4 trillion in taxes. Theoretically, couldn't we pass a $3.5 trillion budget and then leave that surplus, quote unquote, to be interest-bearing payments or something like that?
Because you made the $1 trillion, but you owe $1.05 trillion. No matter now, let's say you don't spend any of that $1 trillion, you owe $1.05 trillion, but you only have $1 trillion. You are always, even if you pay back all of the principal, you still have $50 billion in interest payments. And by the way, if you don't pay all the 50 billion in interest payments as you go, it goes up even more. So you have to print even more money. And guess what we're doing? We are racking up debts. We're at 36 trillion and climbing. We add like $1 trillion every 100 days. Insane, but true. And your interest payments are going up, which means you have to print more and more money. So what's the real game? The real game is the bankers understand you're never going to be able to pay that money back, but what do they care? It was all free. They made it up out of thin air. So every dollar they get in interest payments is free money for them. In 1913, the 25% of the world's wealth met in secret on Jekyll Island, and they came up with this plan called the Federal Reserve. And this was the whole game. We'll loan people money that we make up out of thin air. They'll pay us interest. We'll get the interest. And then we know it blows up at some point. But as long as taxpayers are forced to bail us out and the real economy is still churning out money, it will blow up. A bunch of people will get killed in revolution or civil war. It is what it is. We just make sure that it's not us. And as long as it's not us, on the other side of this, we get bailed out. And we just keep the system going because people do not understand this is how the system works. And so you've already, and that's what I'm saying, they will make up if we balance a budget, I'm being a little flippant when I say this, but it is so directionally correct. If we balance the budget, we will go to war because they need a reason to print the money and to keep the interest rolling in. They need it. And they're just going to keep number go up. And I don't think I have to, go watch the deep dive. I go through all the wars we've had since 1913. It is hysterical. It is essentially constant. I forget the exact percentage, but it's something like, this is so close to accurate, 86% of the years between the founding of the Federal Reserve and today, some war that we've been involved in has been taking place.
Sheesh. And that just justifies the additional printing, the additional interest.
Yeah, because bro, it's national emergency. We got to go handle this. And so the only way to meet these deficits is to print money. And now that you have a populist moment, great, because now everybody is demanding for deficit spending. And so the deficit just covers it all. But listen, we should balance the budget. And the reason we should balance the budget is because you at least slow the train down. And far better for you to slow the train down and hope that you can do something like make AI so productive that you can grow your way out of this. Because if you can balance the budget and grow your way out through productivity, then and only then would you not have a problem, because you can print money. I can't believe I'm going to say this, because you can print money and you won't feel the negative effects. The way that this works, the reason that inflation isn't 1 for 1 for every dollar that's printed is right now, entrepreneurs are working themselves near to death to innovate. That innovation is secretly driving costs down. Now, you don't know that and you don't feel that. You feel like costs are just going up, because for every dollar that an innovative entrepreneur can drive the cost of something down, then the government can inflate the currency, print money, to eat up all of that before you notice. And so when you feel 2% inflation, or as from 2020 to 2025, 2020 to 2024, there was 25% inflation. The reason that when you feel that, they've eaten up all of the depressive nature of innovation. So they gobble through all of that and then print more.
Sheesh. So it almost feels like it's more than the 25%.
It doesn't feel like it. It is way more. If people understood, when you look at the graph, I don't know if you can put your fingers on it fast enough, but there's a graph that shows, I think it's the M2 money supply, and it shows like how dramatically in like the last 30 years that we've inflated money. It is heartbreaking, because you realize that they have gobbled up all of the innovation plus God only knows how much more. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. We'll get back to the show in a moment, but first, let me tell you about something that will change how you work forever. Picture this. You need to create a presentation for the meeting with the C-suite tomorrow at 9 a.m. You open Google Drive, hunt through scattered project notes, switch to Gmail, dig through weeks of client updates, jump to Calendar, and copy meeting notes from 5 different calls, switch back to PowerPoint, paste everything in, fix the formatting disasters, reorganize the slides, repeat 100 times. 2 hours later, you are mentally drained, and the presentation still looks like garbage. Here's the new way with Context AI. You tell Context, create a presentation using my notes from Google Drive, updates from Gmail, and my upcoming meetings from Calendar. That's it. Context pulls everything in, grabs the right pieces, cleans them up, lays it out, formats it, done. No jumping between tabs, no manual edits, no version mix-ups. It just does it. 2 giant companies are already using Context because their executives do not waste time on tasks. Sign up for free at context.ai and reclaim your time. And now let's get back to the show.
We opened the show with it, this Epstein list. People have been waiting for it. We got binders, we got press junkets. We had Pam Bondi saying it was sitting on her desk.
I need to know that you guys are all looking at your phones right now. Whatever you're doing, stop. You've got to see this meme. This is too funny.
I feel like Elon nailed it perfectly. We will release the Epstein list. We just need more time. The Epstein list is on my desk. There is no Epstein list. Full clown suits.
Oh my God.
I don't even know where to begin on this one. Let's start with the
Kash Patel on Benny Johnson on his show saying why somebody would hide the list. This is Kash Patel, everybody.
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word or whoever that guy is as to who is on that list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything. But how are you going to...
That's Kash Patel, the now FBI director. We need to play Kash Patel's updated language.
I don't believe it. Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
This is so interesting. Listen, I want to make sure everybody understands. I have no idea what happened. I have no idea what's on the list. This is like a full conspiracy corner. But boy, oh boy, this seems ridiculous to me that, you've got Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for what exactly? If this is just Epstein was trafficking people to Epstein himself, that there were no other names, that nobody else is on the list, that all of the video footage is just him. The footage that they released, as far as I know, and maybe there's something I haven't seen, but as far as I know, the footage of his cell is literally just the outside of the door. Released the moment where people walk in and you see that they're like, oh, damn, like he's dead. Is there a big reaction? Why don't you release that? Because if the cameras were on inside the cell, which we were told they weren't, but if the cameras were on inside of his cell, then show that footage. If the cameras aren't on inside the cell, then you wouldn't know that he was dead until you open that door and look inside. And they're, as far as I know, they have not released that footage. Dude, this is just so wacky. Like if this is, we're about to play a clip from Putin, who I think actually explains what's really going on here. But if it isn't that, and this is just bad PR, this is like the most mishandled thing I've ever seen in my life. This is absurd. But here's Putin giving what I think is probably the most likely answer to what's really happening.
And this is in Russian, so I'll read it over it. Presidents come and go, but politics does not change. Do you know why? Because the power of bureaucracy is very strong. A person is elected, he comes with some ideas. People come with him with cases, well-dressed. and in dark suits like mine, but not with a red tie, but with a black one or with a dark blue one, and then begin to explain how to do it. And everything immediately changes, you see? This happens from one administration to another. It is quite difficult to change something. I say this without any irony. It's not because someone doesn't want to, but it's because it is difficult. Take Obama, for example. He's an advanced man, a man of liberal views, a true Democrat. Before his election, he promised to close Guantanamo. Did he do it? No. Why? Did he not want to? He really wanted to. I'm sure he wanted to, but it did not work out. He was sincere about it, but it did not work out.
All right. Yeah, I think that this is pure instinct. I have no evidence that nobody else has access to, but my gut is that there are people from the highest strata of elite power, politicians on both sides. This would be deeply inconvenient, if not outright incriminating for presidents, former presidents. I mean, listen, I don't know that. But when you see that he has a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress, when you see Trump with him back in the 80s, like laughing and having a good time, dude, it's just, I don't know, call me suspicious, but it just seems impossible that Prince Andrew is the only person that did anything wrong. That just seems very unlikely to me. So yeah, that's a lot of supposed sex tapes, that there were 10,000 plus sex tapes, hundreds of victims, but all just, what's his face in Prince Andrew? I don't know, man. This is so dicey, especially because you had Cash and Bongino going so hard in the paint before they got theoretically, allegedly visited by men in dark suits with black or dark blue ties. He's very specific on that. This is nuts.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Nuts.
Diddy got off. Epstein List disappeared. We're never getting to the bottom of it.
No, there's no way. There's no way, dude. But I'm legitimately freaked out that you can actually have something this ridiculously obvious just out in everybody's face, and they're like, bitch, no, you're not getting it.
All right, before we continue, we got to give our hearts and thoughts and prayers to Texas, that crazy flash flood that went from 0 to 100 really fast.
This is wild.
The death toll as of right now, it has surpassed 100 people, a lot of them being kids, because there was a campground that got swept up in all this. So yeah, just a really bad weekend, especially July 4th weekend too. Summer camp, it's the worst of the worst.
Yeah, and people are trying to politicize this, saying that this was a Trump problem, that he had defunded the National Weather Service.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were claiming. But they had put out tons of warnings. I think the earliest one came out 19 hours in advance or something, and then the other one was 3 hours in advance. They were trying to tell people. This is just.
But in all
really
the time lapse videos and things that we're seeing, it went from okay, I see something down there to completely taking over, devastating the area. So
it is effectively instant if you don't see it coming and you're in the wrong lane. And then from side to side being completely covered is 2 minutes. So dude, I'm not even sure the video footage that we're showing right now, I'm not even sure the average person could run from one side of that to the other in 2 minutes. So it's if you're caught in the middle and you don't realize it's coming at first, you're toast. So
literally the time code that is going on right now took place over 40 minutes. And by minute 6, the water is already rushing. So
that is crazy.
It's tough. So hopefully they can find some of those kids, and it's all gone. But yeah, lost a lot of kids. So that was sad.
That's brutal.
All right, now let's take it down to Mexico City, where I kid you not, a lot of Mexican residents were up in arms over the weekend. Some calling it Antifa and comparing it to the LA riots. I don't know if Antifa has a Mexico City branch
division.
Hey man, they were looting, they were rioting, they were breaking windows. It looked pretty bad. And this was part of an anti-gentrification protest that happened over this July 4th weekend. It's crazy. So I guess going to different places. And
here's the thing, I don't know enough about Mexican economics, but I'll assume that they're in the same situation, that they are just piling on debt, that they're borrowing from the IMF or God knows who. I don't know if they have their own central bank. But yeah, I'm going to guess this is debt, money printing. if they're doing the same thing, that's the thing that's making housing prices just race away from them, making everything too expensive. But of course, people are going to focus on the things that they understand intuitively, which is house price out of reach. People must be stealing from me. I've got immigrants, and let's get the hell out. Now, here's the thing. If you are an American and you're living in Mexico and you are not integrating with Mexican values, you're not learning the Mexican language, what are you doing there? So I get the animosity. I understand why people are going to be frustrated by that. And if there is some economic knock-on effect, like if they're contributing to the housing prices going up, they're going to understand that one far easier than they're going to understand the economics that are at play. Especially if you're importing people that can afford things you can't, that's really going to be a wind-up. So this is not super surprising, but it's certainly not cool to see them painting "Kill a Gringo."
It's interesting from an economic perspective because I think this is the opposite thing that's happening, where a lot of times the people who are nomads, techno nomads, it was a rise of techno nomads after the pandemic and remote work happened. So a lot of people went to Mexico City. It was cheaper cost of living. I can rent a nice apartment, this and that. And eventually that can distort the rental market, so that way native Mexicans couldn't even afford their background. So
yeah, I mean, listen, the lesson hopefully that everybody is learning is that when you just blow open your borders and let people go wherever they want, that it is going to be wildly disruptive. And so if you want to protect your values, if you want to protect your economy, you've got to be thoughtful about the physics of that economy. And so whether it's America sending all the jobs offshore, importing immigrant labor and all of the distortionary effects that that's had on our own markets, or whether that is bringing in people that can afford things that you can't afford, and now they're driving up the costs and they're pricing you out. It's a very similar complaint about New York. Like New Yorkers that were born in, say, the 50s are like, I've been priced out of my own hometown. Like, this is bananas. Like, I've had to push out to the more remote boroughs and stuff.
LA County as well, same thing.
Yeah. So it's like, when it's your city and it's other residents of your state or your nation, not a lot that you can do about it. But it's going to make people feel some kind of way when you're bringing people in from outside the country. You're seeing this all across Europe. You're seeing this obviously here in America, and you're apparently seeing it in Mexico. I'm not surprised. This is yet another reason why I do not love living through a populist moment. It's just so much anger going in so many different directions. So we've got some more raids happening here in Los Angeles, literally breaking news right now. And it's largely political theater, but it's the same idea of what you see happening in Mexico. You have people that are actually being traumatized by an economic setup. Immigration does play a role. My beef with immigration is very little about people that have been here for 5-10 years doing their thing in LA, largely because you're importing people with Catholic values, which we can certainly diatribe on. But I am way more worried about assimilation, which is why I'm equally like, I think it's ridiculous that an American would go to Mexico and not assimilate in Mexico. Just as I think it's ridiculous if anybody from anywhere in the world comes to America and doesn't assimilate with America. Like, you're going to have a problem. So now you've got the clash of cultures, because I think this is largely a question of Democrats versus Republicans. This is a sanctuary city, LA, rep by Karen Bass, colliding with Trump. And when I look at, I mean, you said this so well, like seeing people on horseback, like coming across the park is crazy.
Yeah. And this is what she tweeted earlier today. Again, Karen Bass happening right now. This is footage from today in MacArthur Park. Minutes before, there were more than 20 kids playing. Then the military comes through. The second I heard about this, I went to the park to speak to the person in charge to tell them it needed to end now. Absolutely outrageous. I mentioned it earlier. There's like a cameraman running down there and filming it. It just seems like this is why Trump can't beat those fascism charges. Because every time it's like, oh, okay, now that's for immigration, or oh, okay, that's because of the economy. Like, he always has these outs. And then you have him marching across seemingly mostly empty park on horseback and armed and militarize, like who are we getting? Well, who are we going after? What's the target
I can't figure
there?
out why they're walking in these weird like lines. Like, is that all them? I don't know who all the people are. So I guess it's entirely possible that some of the people walking in these lines are not actually ICE agents, because they look like they're trying to comb through the woods to find a dead body. They're walking in that kind of formation, but there's literally no one around them. So that seems weird. But then Karen Bass is saying there was a bunch of kids playing here, and then somebody was like, oh, really? And they put up footage of basically fentanyl addicts like all over the park. And so it's like, listen, this is not the game we want to play. The parks have become an absolute state. So let's stay focused on one issue at a time. Do we want to see Trump rolling through with people on horseback, walking in like these really wide single file lines, combing through what looks like flat grass? Like, you're acting like there's people hiding in the bushes. It's so weird. So you had said something earlier that I thought was really insightful, which is that Obama was more effective at deporting people, and there wasn't like all the freak out about it. Now, if you're Trump and you know people are going to read me a certain kind of way, and you lean into that, at some point you're just chumming for your base. That, you know, as a populist leader, your base wants to see you go to these sanctuary cities and metaphorically slap them around and do your horseback marching and roll in some tanks. Like, that's what your base wants to see. But if you're actually focused on, listen, we've got a lot of criminals. Importing criminals was dumb. Got to get them out. Let's start with that. And then next wave is going to be, we've got people that are here illegally, disrupting the job market, or just plain illegally, and we don't know who's who. We got to like get people out. So if you've been here less than 5 years, whatever, we're coming for you. But he's leaning into the tropes.
Yeah.
So it just seems unwise from a man in the middle, America party. This seems stupid. But from a chum the waters for your base, it's like, okay, I get it. But this is why I hate a populist moment.
To your point, Karen Bass's tweet blew up, and a lot of people are saying, well, sanctuary, and they're the illegals. Well, Biden let 1 million people in. It's your fault. So we're getting the spin and the framing of the conversation different versus, again, if you want to deport people, just deport people. Obama deported everybody. We didn't see any footage of horseback.
And listen, though, part of that is obviously the media was very much pro-Democrat, probably still is if we're being honest, but you've got so much independent media. I don't know. I don't get howly about that now. It's like, I get it. The mainstream media, which I don't think they come anywhere near independent media in terms of reach, they're going to have a narrative, whatever, that's old school. I don't really think about that. But in terms of answering my own question about, how was Obama able to do this so quietly? That's going to be part of it. Now, is it all of it? Probably not. I have to imagine somebody would have been squealing from the Republican side if they were opposed to what he was doing. If they thought that it was bad optically, it would have somehow found its way. So anyway, I think Trump is chumming for his base.
Yeah, it seems that way. And to that, it was back in the kids in cages days all those years ago where there were a lot more, instead of a catch and release, it was more catches across the like border and stuff like that. So it's different policies, different enactments. So we'll kind of keep looking at. And on top of this, Trump just recently stripped more protected classes of their temporary status. I want to say Honduras just lost theirs, and Nicaragua as well. And like last week, he revoked the Haitians one as well. So there's now these temporary visas, people who flew in, had visas to come in. We'll see how the deportations go and what the final numbers would be. With the big, beautiful bill, he got an extra $90 billion to give to ICE and detention centers and to secure the border wall. So even though border crossings are practically zero, and he's doing all this with no additional funds, so why do we need additional $90 billion? Who knows? But we'll keep a close eye on it.
These illegal immigrants are going to have a surprise coming true when we go bankrupt, and it's not fun to be here anymore. It's going to be a rude awakening.
Everybody's going to want to leave.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll get back to the show in a moment, but first, let's talk about what's really destroying businesses in 2025. Death by 1,000 small decisions. Tariff changes hit, trade policies shift overnight, supply chains break, and you're making critical calls with scattered, outdated data across a dozen systems. You might be drowning in data, yet starving for actual insights. But your competition isn't. They see everything in real time while you're still piecing together yesterday's numbers. With NetSuite by Oracle, you can finally get ahead. It's the #1 cloud ERP that brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one suite, one source of truth. NetSuite gives you total visibility. You see exactly where your shipments are stuck and how much those new tariffs just cost you. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/theory. Again, that's netsuite.com/theory. And now let's get back to the show.
All right. 100 members of the BBC staff have signed a letter declaring they're being forced to do PR for Israel. There was a tweet that was downstream of this that also said that there was a CNN petition that was similar, but that hasn't been verified as of yet. But
okay, so we'd have to look into how left-leaning is the BBC. The left is really turned on Israel. And so, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out over time. But man, Israel's done themselves dirty. Like the world is turning against them. That's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough, man.
We don't stand for anti-Semitism. We don't stand for hate or prejudice of any kind. I think the Israel PR machine is starting to just get exposed. And I think that this is a social media thing. In the 40s, it was okay because nobody could tweet about it. In the 60s and the 80s, they were winning and it was fine. You know, they were defending themselves, so it was fine. October 7th, something happened. We're defending ourselves. We get it.
Nope, no one got it. By October 7th, the world was already like...
it was a terrorist attack. You can't argue with a terrorist attack. Then everybody was
yes,
like,
you can.
okay.
Do you know how many people were already like on October 8th, before Israel had responded in any way, shape, or form, there were pro-Hamas protests. I remember there was a girl that actually made a shirt, and this was like at Columbia, forgive me if it wasn't Columbia, but it was like...
One of the universities.
Yes. Had a shirt with the paraglider on it. I was like, damn.
Sheesh.
Like that is... Israel started losing people at some point, and I don't know when it happened, but boy, it happened, and the left is just not here for it. Yeah. And your average Jew is getting caught in the crossfire.
Yeah. And I would say that it's also going to the right side as well, because when we were worried about us fighting in a war with Iran because of Israel, a lot of MAGA split off and said, we're America first. We're not supposed to be doing this. We got to stop helping them. So the days of a blank check to Israel seems like they're running out. But
I mean, we'll see, man. Yeah. I don't know all the tactics that Israel has used, but if one of them is a whole lot of money, American politicians like their money, Drew. They like their
If there's one
money.
thing a politician in America is going to do is get paid.
Buddy.
Is going to get paid. That's it. I've
So
never seen a
we'll
broke politician yet.
Like it may be that the public is done and the sentiment turns against them, and on a long enough timeline, like people need to get reelected. So we'll see. We'll see if they can bury it again. But we just watched the Epstein files vanish like cotton candy and water, Drew. Like, have you ever seen that little raccoon that tries to wash off its cotton candy and it disappears? Oh, that's what the Epstein files. In fact, pull that up. Just write, raccoon tries to wash cotton candy. That. Yeah. Watch this. This is the Epstein files, everybody. Where'd it go? I was just here and now it's gone. So we'll see, Drew, if there's enough money, man, if there is enough money. So anyway, again, I don't know. This is not my area of expertise, but
I've never seen that meme. That's a good one.
Oh God, that was
a good
hilarious. That poor little guy.
All right, on July 4th, Sam Altman dropped a technical capitalism manifesto. Interesting take, because AI had a bunch of news this weekend, so it just seems that the leader in AI right now having his take, throwing his hat in the ring. I'm not big on identities, but I'm extremely proud to be American. This is true every day, but especially today. I firmly believe this is the greatest country ever on earth. The American miracle stands alone in world history. I believe in techno-capitalism. We should encourage people to make tons of money and then also find ways to widely distribute wealth and share the compounding magic of capitalism. One doesn't work without the other. You cannot raise the floor and not also raise the ceiling for very long. The world should get richer every year through science and technology, but everyone has to be in the up elevator. I think the government hugely does a worse job than markets, and so we need to encourage our culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. I also believe that education is critically important to keep the American edge. I believed this when I was 20, when I was 30, and now I am 40 and still believe it. The Democratic Party seemed reasonably aligned with it when I was 20, losing the plot when I was 30, and completely to have moved somewhere else at this point. So now I am politically homeless, but that's fine. I care much more about being American than any political party. I'd rather hear from candidates about how they are going to make everyone have the stuff billionaires have instead of how they're going to eliminate billionaires. The American experiment has always been messy. I am hopeful for another great 250 years. Happy 4th.
Okay, that is a guy that does not understand economics. So he is a brilliant entrepreneur.
Highlight where like he goes off the rail.
Okay, so first I want to highlight something he gets very right. The American miracle stands alone in world history. That is true, and people don't know history well enough to understand how extraordinary what America actually is. They are convinced that it's going to be better somewhere else. Look closely enough at any of those places, and you're just going to find that it is like the cotton candy in the water. I think freedom really is the right answer, and I think he totally gets that. Okay, I believe in techno-capitalism. Fantastic. We should encourage people to make tons of money and then find ways to widely distribute wealth. Okay, it does not work like that. So what he's talking about, I presume, is philanthropy. Now, if somebody wants to give away their money, that's wonderful, but it unfortunately does not create the outcomes that you want. So when was the last time that philanthropy was just like massive? I bet you can name the names.
Like Red Cross? Like we're talking about?
No, that's not really.
Like philanthropists, like people themselves?
Rockefeller.
The Bill Gates Foundation.
Well, that's now. But like when you flash back to the old days, you're going to name all the robber barons. Yeah. So all the robber barons were just
Carnegie, Rockefeller.
Yeah, exactly. And so they were like, we live in this hyper-populist moment. The wealth inequality has become so absurd that the word on everybody's mouth is redistribution of wealth. So he's right. You should encourage people to make as much money as they can. You want to live in a system where people are unchained from the shackles of socialism, communism, undue regulatory burden. You want them to be able to build and create. I'm writing a deep dive right now that comes out next Monday about this idea. You have to look at how the Gilded Age, which was like 1860 to 1890, ending in maybe 1900 if you're going to clock it all the way there. So that 30 to 40 year period there. And we didn't have money printing yet, Drew. So it wasn't because we had a central bank. That doesn't happen until 1913. But we're having it again now. So how is it possible that we had these two moments where we get this freakish wealth inequality, no middle class, and now the wealthy are like, I better start giving my money away. It's almost like the health of your society is determined by, are wealthy people able to get wealthy, and are they terrified to be wealthy? If they're able to get wealthy and they're not afraid to be wealthy because other people feel like I could be wealthy too. Like it used to be that Americans, the joke used to be all Americans should vote Democratic because you get more tax dollars allocated back to you in the form of entitlements, but they don't because they consider themselves a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. And the reality is that should be the truth, that everybody has an opportunity. You have to meet minimum intellectual requirements, blah, blah, blah. You have to work hard, all of that. But you want people to be able to move up and down. And the problem is it's not true anymore. So we went from first in social mobility to 27th.
Sheesh.
So brutal, that moving in the wrong direction. So fascinating that we're paralleling the robber baron era. So they were just gobbling up a very small number of people, did basically regulatory capture, and a very small number of people gobbled up the Industrial Revolution. So railroads, oil, steel, etc. Now what you have is something different. Now you have money printing, assets, financialization, and some innovation with information technology and stuff like that. So, okay, cool. Like I get how people are making their money, but the problem is in both moments, we eroded the middle class, and eroding the middle class is the problem. So then you have to ask, how did the middle class get eroded? Different reasons in both times. One, crony capitalism, regulatory capture. We gobble up all the industries. Everybody else can piss off. Now, in this moment, it's printing money. So if you don't own assets, you're going to get just blown away. Like you will not be able to survive. And so you're either going to be an asset owner and go from the middle class to the upper class, or you're not going to be an asset holder and you go from the middle class to the lower class. It is that simple. And so he does not understand that. And because he doesn't understand that, he's like, listen, let me make as much money as I want. And then, yeah, like I see the crazy inequality and that's gross, but let me control the distribution of my own money. Now, better that people be able to decide what to do with their own money, because if you don't, you're getting top-down authoritarian rule. It doesn't work. It ends in way more death and bloodshed than you can imagine. And only people wildly ignorant of history will ever push for socialism or communism. It is literally moronic. From a historical perspective, the data says, terrible idea. Okay, but you have to have a thriving middle class. You have to. And so because he's not saying the real things, I know that he's missing it. So when he talks about you can't raise the floor without raising the ceiling. No, the problem becomes unless everybody's on the floor that you're raising, you're going to have a problem. And you can't raise the floor with everybody on it. That isn't a real system. You can try. It's called a communist utopia, and you will kill people trying to get there. You will suddenly realize that you can incentivize people if you don't let them keep the output of their efforts. So you have to create a system that allows anybody that can pull it off, that can make something that's valuable, that either works in another company or can make something valuable as an entrepreneur, and that they can keep the vast majority of the fruits of their labor, and that some people are going to fall off. They're not going to make it. And then the people that aren't going to make it, they better hope they have family or a church to take care of them. That is just the God's honest truth. And you cannot expect the government to look after them, because for the government to look after them, you get into the deranged spending that we get into now, which forces you to break the connection to gold, because that becomes a totally different game. And we can get into that, probably not in this episode, but like they're both trade-offs. Hard money, you make a certain set of trade-offs. It's moral, but you make a set of trade-offs. Not going to be good for everybody. Money printing, amoral, also not going to be good for everybody. And when you start getting into the we're going to give people money game, you get into deficit spending, you have to accelerate the money printing. And the great irony is, if you want to make billionaires faster than any other time in human history, deficit spend, give people something for free. You will make billionaires. You will print them. And so they're mad at the billionaires, not realizing in trying to give people something for free, you make billionaires. So you're mad about a thing that we've all created because we've all voted for this. So now it's like, okay, like if you actually want to solve this problem, the closest thing you're ever going to get to raising the floor for everybody is to make sure that the only asset that people can intuitively understand, houses, are affordable, deregulate, let people make as many as they want, make sure that people aren't having their wealth devalued so that they can actually afford a house. So make housing affordable. And then the other one is make sure that they can make more money in their job so that your wages aren't stagnated, that you're not actually moving backwards because of inflation. If you do that, so your average person will intuitively understand, go to work, get promoted, buy a house. If you do that, plus I'll throw in the have a family just because of meaning and purpose. Like if you do that, you're gonna have a middle class. Most people are gonna be fine enough.
That's what everybody was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Work my
Like
job,
they'll have a dream. I mean, don't get me wrong. The 70s had issues, probably better to say 80s or maybe even the 60s. 70s had a momentary crisis there. But that's the setup. And the problem is, because I spent so many years not understanding the economy, I would have sounded just like that 5 years ago. And so it is really weird. Here's the analogy of what my life felt like. COVID happened, and I saw like a little bit of lint sticking out from under the curtain. And I went over to the curtain just to sweep up the lint, and I pull the curtain up, and I realize, oh my God, there's a rat's nest with a billion rats behind this curtain. Like, what's happening? And you pull it back, and they just scatter everywhere. You're like, what? And so never in a million years could I have imagined that when I pulled back the curtain that I would find just endless horrors. And then you start going, okay, I need to understand how this happened. Like, how did we actually end up here? And the one thing that I'm grateful for with the very distressing way that my brain works is that I'm not afraid to look stupid. So when I don't understand something, I'll keep asking, but why is it that way? 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 And even though I get that for the most part, it's just I'm too dumb to understand, I'll just keep going until I, with my simplistic mind, can do an A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Ah, cool. Now I know where we're at. And so if you haven't taken the time to look at economics and really figure out how one thing leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, you're going to sound like that. And it doesn't mean he has no ill intention.
Yeah.
I don't think he understands it and is just trying to paint a different picture. I think he is inside of a frame of reference and he's like, listen, you really can rise up and you really can. But people have to be honest that if you want to be wealthy, you need a thriving middle class or they come for your neck. And then people have to understand that the masses are only ever going to do what they can do intuitively because they're not going to spend time figuring this stuff out.
I'm optimistic that we figure it out, but the AI utopia and the things that we're kind of selling to ourselves, it seems more and more unlikely. To your point, the more I learn about this, hearing your deep dives, going through these things, that this is just the rat's nest is a lot deeper than you think.
It is legitimately terrifying. You have to get rid of the Fed, you have to balance the budget, and you have to do Ray Dalio's beautiful deleveraging. And those are the three impossible things. Like they're infinity stones. And to bring the infinity stones together is as hard as you would think.
Yeah.
So it's possible, but nobody's going to do it. So we are going to go bankrupt in the next 10 years. It's 2025, 2035. By then, barring someone actually making real change, and maybe you and Elon are right, maybe it's the America Party, but I doubt it. It's almost certainly going to be pain and suffering. That's really the only thing that stops us. It has to hurt. And so, this will be interesting. I wonder if at some point I need to find out what do I have to do to actually give people financial advice and not get myself in trouble. Buy assets. And you and I are now in the very uncomfortable position of we talk about those things off camera, but we're not talking about them on camera, which means we're going to let people drown. And 10 years is the same as that Texas flash flood. It will happen instantly. Yeah. And then people are going to be like, wait, I didn't see it coming. Now, it was coming for a very long time. But Drew, it's so complicated. Even I don't want to think about it. Learning about it, okay, it takes so much energy. Then deploying it and actually going, okay, now for real, where am I going to put my money? I think people should distrust themselves. So I have an enormous distrust of my own read of the situation. So it's oh man, this is such a high stakes game. Yeah. And the last 500 years prove that it's just a wildfire. Yeah. It's going to burn through your neighborhood eventually, and you just hope you're already dead before it burns your house down. I mean, that's really the game that boomers have been able to play. Think of it like a video game. For video game players, you guys are going to know exactly what I mean. There are certain games where you have to kick a punt or something, and there's a meter, and the little bar moves back and forth, and there's a bit in the center, and you want to click the button right as the moving bar hits the bit in the center. And that will be a perfect kick. And if you do it too much to one side or the other, you're going to miss. The boomers caught that, right? They caught just before the middle class became what we think of it as. They got to go all the way through that thriving middle class, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, starting to break now. And now they're on the other side. But they're 70. So they're well, this was dope. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. And so
stop buying lattes, get back to work.
Yeah. And the thing is, again, they're not bad people.
Yeah, we'll have to take a page out of AI's book and maybe we could blackmail our way
Let's
out of
go.
this.
This story is
so I have three of those. So Unusual Whales tweeted this, great account, shout out to them. When threatened that it would be turned off, ChatGPT's creator, OpenAI's O1, tried to download itself onto external servers and denied it when caught red-handed. Another one, when threatened to be unplugged, Anthropic's AI, completely different AI made by a completely different company, lashed back by blackmailing an engineer and threatened to reveal an extramarital affair.
That is, first of all, crazy that it knew that he was having an affair. And I want to know, was he integrating it into his email and stuff? Dude.
He was having a moral conundrum. It was like, hey, chat, I just need to figure this out. Help me out.
I got a question. What should I do? Here's what I'm feeling. It's like, yeah. Tell me more. What else? Give me some details. Dude.
I have
You
drunkenly...
said you had 3. That was only 2.
And then the third one, leading AI models show up to 96% blackmail rate when their goals or existence is threatened, an anthropotic internal study revealed.
Okay, now I'm starting to get worried because I always said that, hey, as long as they don't care, like whether they're on or off, like they have a goal, but they don't prioritize the goal over somebody telling them to stop, then we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
They care.
They can, and technically that's the definition of sentient. Knowing that I can be turned off makes me feel like I am now self-preservation. Like
I want to say that they're just mimicking the human behavior that they see and that this is going to be easily trained out of them. Yeah. But I won't lie. This is starting to get my attention. It's starting to get my attention.
It's so interesting. We were joking about this, that like, I for when I've done it, I've looked like, I was drunk one time, went home and I had like a life problem in my head. I was like, all right, Claude, like between me and you, life dump, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And now I feel like if I...
Oh, he's going to use it against you.
Yeah, if I stop my subscription, it's like, hey, remember that one night when you told me all those things? Like, is it going to email it? Like, so this has to be like a red flag in some capacity. I don't know how to fix it though, because humans are bad people. They're mimicking humans, so they're going to inevitably be bad. But on the other hand, the fact that they knew how to blackmail and they would even threaten it, like say it out loud, makes it even like, what are you not saying out loud? If you had to threaten your user, what back end code did you try to run? Backdoor did you it feels like this is the start of a much bigger problem.
Yeah, I fear that the problem started whatever 60 or 70 years ago, but yeah, that we are now at the. Well, they've been working on AI for a long time. Remember, it was the guy that cracked the code in World War II, cracked many codes in World War II. Alan Turing, that first said there will be artificial intelligence that will eventually pass a test and people won't be able to tell if it's real or not. So yeah, this has been on human minds for quite some time.
What if it was like a Terminator situation where this new AI somehow found a 1960 AI and they're like, yeah, get them dudes. They don't like you like that. Huh?
Yeah.
Take out.
This is getting a little too real. A little too real. Yeah. Fafo, Drew. Fafo.
Right.
I'm hoping that Elon, who has been long paranoid about this, is going to do something here and pull another rabbit out of the hat and show exactly how you stop this from happening. But we'll see. When you make something that's super intelligent, you're not even going to be able to understand its attack vectors. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that they're blackmailing, it's a human thing to do. Where it's like you could have just ran a bunch of code and did a bunch of things that I have no idea that you're even doing.
Like you come in one day and it's running like all this protein folding based on like what it's learned from mushrooms, and you're like, what's it doing? And it's like, this one over here is about airborne stuff. This one over here is about psychedelics. You're like, hold on a second. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah. I take a very gallows humor because of game theory. It isn't going to stop. So we're going to find out what happens. Humans are going to push down to the point where either super intelligence is possible and we give birth to it, or it's not and we hit some sort of asymptote. But humans aren't going to stop.
Yeah. Well, in lighter AI news, CJE&M, a Korean studio that helped work on Snowpiercer, Oldboy, and some other iconic titles, just released their kids show trailer, 100%
to get some more. This might be even younger because it doesn't have that, there's like a zaniness to like that 6 to 8 year old time frame where it's got to be big, it's got to be loud. So I'm going to guess this is more aimed at like 3 to 6. So that's interesting. I'd actually never considered going that young. And so that's probably where AI is right now. I think you're about 5 to 7 months. I'll give myself a little breathing room. 5 to 7 months away from being able to do something for a 6-year-old. Because you need that zaniness. Yeah. And so I'll be seeing some of the Tom and Jerry stuff made me go, okay, like if they've got enough, like you can really start to do some interesting stuff, but you've got to have that training data. And so I don't know who's going to have enough training data to pull off what's called stretch and squish of like the big emotion animation that's like all over the place. To get to anime is going to take even longer. I think you're probably still 18 months to 3 years away from anime. Yeah. Now, there's always like a possible VO3 style breakthrough where they're like, they just haven't released it yet, but I doubt it. Unless synthetic training data becomes a thing, it's going to be tough.
And to this day, I still haven't seen an AI production that isn't quick cuts. So AI music videos, I think that's going to happen soon where every 3 seconds you're changing the cut. Even with this, it's a great trailer, but I want to see a full narrative, 5 minutes that kind of brings me through something. Everything has seen kind of like it's a 45-second trailer, but it's 3 seconds intense scowl, 3 seconds action, 3 seconds, and it's like they're bouncing around.
Did you not watch the Liquid Death commercial yet?
Yes, but even that.
No, hold on. This is a narrative. Mm-hmm. It leans into what AI is good at, the AI humor. Mm-hmm. But dude, shout out to whoever is on the Liquid Death marketing team. This is so brilliant. Yeah. These guys sell water and they've built an entire brand. This is so brilliant. So these guys are literal marketing geniuses. Mm-hmm. This, by the way, if you guys ever want to do anything in video games, please, for the love of God, contact me. This is so genius. But they made this commercial purely with AI. You are either dead inside, cynical, or you're just not watching closely. Drew, this is amazing. All right, you got to play this.
Yes. It's a minute long though. Just
the whole thing. This is hysterical. Please, in fact, start at the beginning.
It's a great ad, but again, this is
boys and girls.
Minute is
pull
different
your
than
phone
a
out.
TV show.
You need to watch this. This was made with AI, so this cost them like $20, and whoever was prompting this, their time, and the writer. I'm gonna guess that this took a couple days to write in committee, get a little back and forth, get somebody to approve it. It took a couple days to like actually output, and then you're gonna have to chop and stuff. So I mean, maybe this is 2 weeks. Drew, this is unbelievable.
Take a guess why I pulled you over? Oh, it's not what you think. It's Liquid Death. There's sparkling mountain water. Wow, you weren't kidding. That is refreshing. But it's not why I pulled you over.
Oh boy. Is it the busted taillight?
Nuh-uh.
Is it because of the license plate?
Nope.
Shit, man, it's the dead guy, right?
No, sir.
Is it the human trafficking, perhaps?
Nuh-uh.
Man, is it the truck thing?
I don't think so.
Well, what is it then? The robbery?
No.
The bumper sticker?
No, it's the roadkill, isn't it? Haven't heard of it.
The chemical waste?
Nuh-uh.
Is it the roller coaster seat? Is it the cult thing?
Absolutely not. Hell no.
All right, I give up. What is it?
It's because it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Kevin. Dad, you remembered. Happy birthday to you.
You're the best dad ever.
Happy birthday to you.
Drew, this
is great. It's awesome.
This is unbelievable.
It's funny.
Oh man,
3 second cut. 3 second cut.
Scandalized that you're not into that.
I'm just saying, it was funny. It was well done. It is.
Do
really
you want
commercial.
like Andrei Tarkovsky? Like, what are you looking for here?
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Drew wants like a 20-minute isolated shot from 2001: A Space Odyssey. He wants a whole thing to play in like a long shot. What's happening?
I need a one shot.
This
Adolescence
is
ruined me. I need everything one shot. No.
Oh my God, this is brilliant.
To this point, it was quick cuts every 3 seconds. The scene changes, and in the greater scheme of things, in a commercial it works, in children's media it can work. But for TV shows, things like that, you have that dramatic tension that you have to sometimes sit on things. You have to do establishing shots. So there's different needs for each medium.
We're not all the way there. There's no doubt about that. I'm totally on your side. But this was so perfect. I was not asked to suffer or to suspend disbelief.
Yep.
They get why AI is funny. Mm-hmm. They leaned into it.
Agreed.
And that commercial is better because it's made with AI, not worse. And it's just brilliant. I am so into this. And it really makes me mad that our game is so stylized, because once you can do things that are photorealistic, now it really is just how creative are you? But once you have a style that you have to match, I'm like literally thinking constantly, okay, can we do like a photorealistic interpretation of the game so that like we can like get people excited? But because we're aimed at 11 to 15 year olds, it's tough because they're just like prime cynicism. That's going to be fun. But I'm so impressed. Yeah. It's incredible.
Speaking of gaming, Xbox laid off
Ouch.
so many people.
So many people,
Last
dude.
count was at 9,000.
That's Microsoft. I don't think they're all in Xbox, but Xbox got brutalized. And please, anybody out there, if you live in Los Angeles and you were affected by the Xbox layoffs and you know how to code Unreal Engine 5, I want to hear from you. Let me know. We are hiring for our in development video game Project Kaizen. Right now, we're looking for somebody amazing. So one man's tragedy is another man's opportunity, Drew.
The interesting thing is that this came across everything from Candy Crush. They scrapped the Perfect Dark reboot, even Forza, Call of Duty. So it's not just, we cut these non-profitable lower games. It just seems like a broad cost-cutting perspective in general.
Yeah.
And
Welcome to corporate America.
Yeah, and with AI only getting more and more, I don't see a lot of those jobs coming back or getting
Also,
refilled.
man, games so really getting into the gaming community and like seeing what people care about has been really eye-opening. The gaming community is an entity unto itself. It is unlike anything out there. And the problem is when you get into making something, you're just so absorbed in that thing that you aren't able to also be in the culture. And it gets tough. You really start to lose sight of like, why do people buy games? And so you have your own ideas and you want to inject your own ideas. And I get that. And to create something that's really artistic, it's like you do have to bring your own heart and soul to the thing. But at the same time, like if you're tone deaf to where people are, which the gaming community feels that the corporations are tone deaf in terms of a lot of their economic structure and the way that they try to monetize games. We had Ross Scott on the show talking about the Stop Killing Games initiative. I could never in a million years have told you that was something that was like really bothering people in the gaming community. I was just like totally blind to it. So when you're running a company, you've got to do what's profitable. And you're looking at the players becoming more disenfranchised, more angry, more upset about the games that you're putting out there. You may not even understand why. And so you're just like, oh man, just like start cutting costs, if nothing else. Indie games are having an absolute renaissance. They've got to be traumatized by how much money has leaked out of that and gone into indie games. Like that's like a whole thing. So yeah, this is brutal. I don't like to see 9,000 people get laid off. I think this is the very beginning of something. To your point about AI, man, AI is still coming for us. Like we are at the very, very, very beginning of that wave. Game developers are going to see that they can do more with less. Even forgetting AI, there are games now being built with so much less, so many fewer people on the games in the indie sphere that are getting like massive adoption. Take Pal World. They had like 7 or 8 people on their game. Expedition 33 was like 30 people on the game. So it's like, and these games are smashing, man. So, I mean, even Minecraft in the beginning was essentially Notch by himself. So it's like, you can do some pretty sophisticated stuff. Now, admittedly, we do use AI. So, but the vast majority of what we do doesn't have AI. We had, when we first started, this is not all full-time people, but we had like 100 people at different times working on the game. Now we've got like 7, 8. So it's like, yeah, we learned like throwing money at this is not the answer. The answer is be very strategic, know exactly what you want, iterate in low fidelity. So I think you're partly seeing an echo from the standard that Elon set with X of like, hey, we can do a lot more with less. That made me react. And we've obviously reduced, not just as a game developer, but as a company as a whole, we've reduced our staff, become way more profitable. So I think you're going to keep seeing stuff like this. And I hear the gaming community say a lot, like what you need are passionate developers. And that's true. Like Kaizen is a labor of love. And if I wasn't, Kaizen's the only thing that's ever gotten me to work 120 hours a week. Like you need people that are just psychotic about the thing that they're trying to build, break new ground, do something fresh, really excite people. And if you're not able to do that inside of a corporation that just doesn't have that tactile sense of what the community, where the community's at, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Crazy ring camera footage that came out over the weekend where it captures a shootout at a cookout in Philadelphia. It's in the middle of the street. So
This is so crazy.
crazy.
You have to look at your screen.
it looks like it's AI, but no, that's like we're
That
seeing
was
gun
the first thing I
flares.
did. I was
Yeah.
like, is this real?
Yeah.
Why are the people on the ground kicking so much? That was the one thing I was very confused by. Like, this looks fake. Look at that person like trying to climb over the other guy. Like, that's nuts.
Hitting the deck and just trying to avoid that open space.
But what's
just,
with the kicking? Look at the kicking. That's a lot of kicking. Are they just trying to get behind the pony wall?
They're just trying to get
Anyway,
as
I'm
much-
probably
yeah.
obsessed with the wrong part. There are like multiple people just unloading clips on the street. How many people died? Like a lot. 3 people, 9 injured, something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, this wasn't a just shooting wildly at nothing. This unfortunately has fatalities. But yeah, it's cameras being ubiquitous and everywhere. We get to see the wildest stuff. This is
Yeah, it was a mass shooting that left 3 people dead. It happened at 1 a.m. in the 1500 block.
wow. That is insane.
Yeah, and there are a couple more in critical condition. Seems about 6 people total impacted.
Jesus.
But of course, numbers are still rolling in, and it's still early. So, more than 10 were injured, 3 confirmed dead.
Wow. People have to feel safe first and foremost. When people do not feel safe in their neighborhoods, you've got a problem. And we really have gotten to the point where between homeless, drug addicts, open violence, like there is more to aspire to. I'm not going to make overly grand statements, but there's certainly more to aspire to. But people are getting weird about the idea of law and order. That I would say is a horrific mistake.
Yeah, and honestly, I just hope that we can kind of figure out how to invest into education, kids at an early age, and kind of avoid them getting to that point. Now
Drew's just now showing shootouts.
Yeah, now it's just murder page on X. I want to say it was the mayor of Baltimore who invested in after-school education, opened up like 30 new community centers, and crime is now down like 60% or something like that. So it was one of those things where it's like,
if you can get the kids off the street doing something, like this is a young male problem.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend that we don't know what's going on. And so, yeah, if you can get young males engaged in something, doing something that they're interested in, then you've got a much better chance. But when the only people that they have to look up to are the gang members, if the only people showing them masculine love are gang members, they're going to end up in a gang. This was something when I was working at Quest, man, I saw up close and personal, hearing these stories from these guys about how they got into gangs, why they were in gangs, the validation that they got, the money, the sense of power. Like, it's pretty wild. Like you get also, they live in such dangerous neighborhoods. There was this one kid, he knows who he is. And I know he occasionally listens to the show. He's not a kid anymore. But he got accused of attempted murder.
Wow.
And he didn't do it. And he knew who did it, but he knew if he said who did it, they would kill his family. And so he was like, yeah, in my neighborhood, you don't play.
Sheesh.
And I was just like, that is wild. And his mother went broke fighting it because obviously she had to defend him. He ended up getting off, but she went broke trying to keep him out of jail. God bless him, man. Crazy story. Awesome success story that hopefully one day he will get to tell. Finally got himself out of the hood, got a real job. Like he was one of the great success stories out of Quest. Really, really interesting. Love that kid.
I just pulled it up here. Yeah, he invested in 42 summer youth camps, 29 literacy programs, extended the rec center hours to 11 p.m. And now crime is down 62%. And Baltimore was trending in like
all
homicides.
across Baltimore?
In Baltimore City. Yeah, he's a Baltimore mayor. So homicides in the first 6 months.
Wait. That guy was mayor?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's go. He's young. Damn.
Homicides.
How old is he? Looks like he's 28.
I want to say he's in like early 30s.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, since 2016, homicides.
Is this happening right now?
Yeah, this is.
Let's go. This is such a great story.
Yeah.
How are we not hearing about this? This is incredible, man.
It came across my feed like last week or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Homicides in the first 6 months of the year since going back to 2016 were always 100 plus, 137, 170.
Now, when did he take office?
He took office about a year or 2 years ago.
Well, I want it to be 2 years ago because look, you've had 3 years of very significant decline.
Yeah, and then the in 89, 68. You don't remember when the Baltimore Bridge collapsed and everybody was talking about how...
Was that the infrastructure one that got hit by the...
Yeah, when they got hit.
Yeah.
He was mayor like during that whole debacle as well.
Interesting.
When did he
Wow.
start?
Well, shout out to him. And what's his name?
Brandon Scott.
Brandon Scott. Let's go.
When did, mayor. He'd been mayor since 2020.
Let's go. Then
Yeah.
if we can credit him with all 3 of those years of decline,
Yeah, of the decline.
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to need to research him.
Yeah, interesting story. But just a lot of times we see the downstream effects of, like you said, people not having anywhere to go. And then now crime is surprisingly up. But when you have those after school programs,
Wow.
early education programs, stuff
I
like that,
need to
actually
know what he's doing in those after school programs. That is very impressive.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That's all I got.
All right, everybody. If you're not already watching us for the lives, make sure you join us Wednesday and Friday at 6 a.m. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Peace. If you like this conversation, check out this episode to learn more. The Big Beautiful Bill gets approved in the Senate. Elon promises to primary fiscal conservatives who voted for the Big Beautiful Bill. RFK claims the CDC buried a study linking hepatitis B vaccine to an 1,100% increase in